We'd like to acknowledge the traditional custodians of the land on which this podcast was produced, the Gadigal people of the Eora Nation. We pay our respects to elders past and present.
It's the 10th of December 2015 and we're sat on the coast of Hawaii at one of the world's most famous surf spots. The waves are rolling in at Pipeline and pro surfer Owen Wright is paddling out. It's one of the world's most dangerous surf breaks, with gigantic crashing waves above and razor-sharp reef below. But Owen grew up in the ocean. He's been out here many times before. He's super confident. There's a few hours before the Pipeline Masters, and he's already caught some winning waves. He's feeling invincible. Back in the water, there's a huge set coming. Everyone around Owen ditches their boards and dives deep to get under the first wave. Owen decides to duck dive. His 7-foot board glides under the water by half a metre and he follows. But it's not deep enough. Owen is immediately sucked into the wash of the 15-foot wave. He's dragged under and smashed into this washing machine-like mass of water, thrown against the reef below. Owen comes up for air, but this is just the first of 10 monster waves and he's now right in the impact zone. He takes them all head on, one huge brutal beating after another. Eventually, he somehow manages to drag himself back to the beach. It would take Owen 4 months to even realise the full extent of the damage he suffered, let alone start to recover. I'm at Middleton and this is Head Game. Today, Owen Wright's impossible comeback. Owen, you have been a champion, you're a surfer extraordinaire, a surfing legend, and you've been through the mill, mate. Take me back to when you first, saw a surfboard. Was it one of your first memories?
Yeah, for sure. I think my first memory, I've got this like cutout of like a foam board it was about that thick and it was not a good shaped surfboard. It also got these plastic red fins in it. And I think that was like my first go at it. It would have been like 4 or 5.
It was just a piece of foam, really?
It was a piece of foam, man. No shape to it. Round. It had a round nose and it was just like, this is just a block. But I remember loving it. You know, that those initial memories when you're first starting out, you just love those things. And I still couldn't picture it to this day.
And where'd you get that from?
I just would have got it from my dad, but that was the first memory of the surfboard. Yeah.
So you just remember picking up this piece of foam, thinking, right, I'm going to put this in the sea and see how I get on.
Yeah, I can remember rolling off that thing and it gave me the worst rash. Like just foam, you can imagine, styrofoam even, like just rashing your body up. But yeah, I remember a few good trips with that. Like we went up and down the coast. I remember that thing getting thrown in the back of the car and yeah.
So it was always with you as part of your upbringing, was it?
For sure.
Foam board.
Because I think it went down from me too. I've got younger brothers and sisters, so...
Hand-me-down.
It was like a hand-me-down, so... Yeah, I remember that coming. Even as I got older, I moved on. It was still in the... And by then it had big chunks missing out of the side. And
yeah, so you lived by the beach?
Mm-hmm. Dad was like just so keen on the beach. Bought a block of land on the front of the beach where just nothing else in front but beach.
Oh, mate.
Yeah. So that's obviously big influence on that as well. And so we basically just run across the road as soon as you get home, chuck the school bags down, run straight out, or vice versa when you're before school.
So your dad was a keen surfer himself, was he?
He was a keen surfer.
So that's where the influence came from.
Yeah, that's where it came from. He used to take us surfing, and my mum used to be like the ultimate like mum, like, hey, what do you need? Food? Do you need mending? Do you need?
Yeah. Be careful when you go out
be careful.
there.
Yeah. But there was not too much hope with her. We were all pretty gun ho. Like we'd definitely come back with like holes out of us and this and that. But yeah, luckily we were right on the ocean, so it's like most of the time Mum could kind of look out from the kitchen and do a whistle, and we'd just ignore her, but we could definitely see her and hear her. So
was your mum and dad like chalk and cheese? Was your mum like, right, here's dinner, and your dad was like, just get out there and ride the waves?
My dad was very disciplinarian and just like routine based. You know, and you know, if there's anything that scares you, you're there to conquer it, right?
He would be like that.
Yeah, it'd be very, very
like
much
that.
so.
Face your fears.
Face your fears. Yeah.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
What, from a young age, or
from a very young age? Yeah. Something set me up for my whole career. Well, was when I was 7 years old, and he said to surf. He used to go away to Indonesia and surf, and that was like, you just want to go do what your dad did, right? And so you can come over there if you can surf Aussie pipe. And now Aussie pipe is like, these waves are called pipeline around the world. You've got Hawaii pipe, Aussie pipe, you know, some of these other countries have their version of pipeline, and it's like the most revered wave. Like, it's, you know, it can strike fear into anyone. So we had to surf that wave before we could go overseas to Indonesia. And we're about 7 years old, and well, all right, let's go do that. We're starting practicing there. And one morning, waves are pretty big. It was before school, and I took this wipeout, and I lost a chunk of my ear in the reef. Got knocked out, and still gone to this day.
At 7 years old?
At 7 years old, lost a chunk of my ear, got knocked out, and was like vomiting on the shore.
I can actually see the chunk of ear that's missing.
You can see the chunk of ear, it's gone. It's fully gone. And I hit my head so hard, just the whole thing cut it off. And my dad come in, and he was like, this is your opportunity. He's like, you can either pack it up and we can go home, or you can paddle back out and surf this wave and face your fear. And this will be it. And I was like, all right, let's go. Paddle back out, blood pouring out of my head still, and got to face that fear at quite a young age. So
that's really cool, really.
That's like a little kind of look into how my dad kind of viewed those types of scenarios, or big scenarios. And
so when he gave you those two options, ultimately he only gave you one. He was like, you can either pack up and go, or you can get back on that board, son, and get back out there. Was it one of those?
It was pretty much that. It was like, impress your dad, or just let's just
never surf again.
Like never surf again. So it was obviously just, you know, get back out there and get into it. And I surfed I didn't just catch one more wave, I caught a few more waves. So it was quite a little turning point, but a little bit of piece into who my dad was, and how he kind of helped us all face our fears, and or not even that, just kind of be ready for big tasks, you know, like it's a big task to take on at that age.
Yeah, not letting other situations define you, defining yourself, taking charge of things, taking charge of who you are, you know, being in control of what you can control. Yeah, and ultimately your fears and your emotions are something that a lot of people don't control, and it gets the better of them, right? And it was at 7, that's a lesson and a half to be taught.
It was a big lesson, and it's funny what you just said is pretty much that sound like comes straight from him. Hey, he's like, he pointed out a guy out there, and you see that guy out there, you can do exactly that. The only thing that's stopping you between doing that is your fear. And it was like, and your emotions. And I was like, yeah, but I'm so young. He's like, no, you can do exactly what he's doing, and there's nothing stopping you. So it was so it was interesting. Those things like brought it all back into like, quite factual in a way.
Yeah,
like,
perspective was there.
Yeah, I can do that. Like that guy might be older, but I can do exactly that.
Did you feel that there was a safety blanket with your dad? You know, that he was there, and you knew that if you go back out there and do it, he'd be there, he'd have your back? Or
he always had your back. Yeah, you're definitely quite a protector. You know, so
that safety blanket almost makes you feel like you can do anything, right? Especially when you got someone as powerful and as your dad's your hero at the end of the day. You want to impress him, you want to listen to him, and when he's giving you mindset coaching at the age of 7, which is phenomenal, which I do with my children, it sets you up.
Yeah. And then we had the cheese on the other side. You know, Mum come home to Mum that night, and she's just like, oh my gosh, you should have been in hospital, and it's too late to stitch, and it's, oh, you're all right. And I'm there, I'm just like, yeah, maybe I'm a bit dizzy. looking at Dad.
Losing blood as it's dripping off your ear.
Looking at Dad, Dad's like, shut up, man.
Yeah, he's all right. He's all
right. And I'm just like, maybe I do need a hug. I don't know.
I don't know what I need right now.
So chalk and cheese, man.
Yeah, that is something that put you in good stead. as a youngster and, facing your fears and getting out there and tackling, feeling like nothing is impossible. When did you realise that you were, an awesome surfer, that you thought, you know what, I'm going to do this for a living, or I'm at least going to pursue this? How old were you when you first thought, this is what I want to do. I don't want to do anything else. I'm good at what I do. Let's go.
Oh man, that's a funny question, because like you could have asked me that question at like 8 years old, and I would have told you I'm going to be a professional surfer.
Wow.
So much so I was changing the flags at a pro junior event one time, just like living and breathing it. Just like I just want to watch heats, be close to heats, be close to these like pro junior guys that are not pro yet, but we're looking to be pro. I was changing the flags to their heats, and then the final presentation was up, and they brought me up there to thank the flag bearer. And what do you want to be when you grow up? And I was like, I want to be a professional surfer. And then like the interviewer laughed, and everybody laughed in the crowd. And then I remember just like looking across at my dad and just being like, what's up with this bloke? Like,
yeah, why are they laughing?
Why is he laughing?
Yeah.
Like, I'm for real here. And
yeah.
And then he just asked me, what about a flag bearer? And I was like, no, I'm going to be a professional surfer. And I was dead straight then.
Yeah, did you not hear me the first time?
Yeah, that's like really correcting him. I'm like, no, like that's what I'm going to do. And so I feel like I was pretty dead set on it from a young age. And even to like, just my wife met a guy that I went to school with the other day, and she was like, what was he like at school? And he was like, well, we never knew what happened to him. He was never there. He was on the beach. He was on the beach. He was chasing his dreams.
Would you say you were obsessed with surfing?
I definitely had that obsession trait. It was like if I wasn't doing that, I was trying to watch a surf movie, or if I was, I was talking about surfing, sleeping, dreaming about it, drawing it on my school books, whatever. Yeah.
When was the first time that you picked up a medal or, some sort of competition win that really sort of embedded you to say, right, you know what, this is the start?
Yeah, it was the Pines event. Yeah.
There you go.
And it was just one heat.
Yeah.
20 minutes, and you're only allowed to catch 10 waves. But I caught my 10 waves in the first, like, literally 10 minutes. And I remember having to stand on the beach and just watch, being so stirred up inside, just like, oh, man, this is so hard. My dad there with his hand on my back, just going, it's all right, man. You caught your waves at the start. You did what you can do. Be proud of what you did. And I remember just having to watch everyone else for the next 10 minutes just catch whatever wave they want. But that was I won that event, and that was and my friend Matt Wilco got second, and then we flipped back and forth our whole career.
Really?
Yeah.
That was the start of the legacy.
Yeah. That was the start.
Amazing. And you were 10 years old.
10 years old, and we pretty much the two of us kept pretty much in every final since. Yeah.
Wow. And you were just like back and forth with each other. Best friends?
Yeah, still best friends, still live near each other. Yeah.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah.
Super competitive though, right?
Oh, yeah.
Once you get out there, no friendship. It's like,
take it all off.
Take it all off.
Yeah.
When was your first Worlds?
First Worlds was 16. And that was in Brazil. Yeah.
Talk me through that. What was that like?
First time overseas, we, my dad came again. He was a huge pillar for me throughout. Well, most dads try to be, and in their ways they can. So
but not all dads are, So it's you've got to give him credit there, because
that's it. Yeah, he definitely worked on side, and came across, and we there was times in that. There was tears, I was quite driven, but like, I always had this process where I'd tear myself down but I knew at the bottom of that I'd find something,
tear yourself down before
I hit the
waves?
I'd tear myself down emotionally before I went. Like I'd be like, I've been this or that, like this is
not good enough.
Yeah,
was it doubt?
Yeah,
it was self-doubt, or
it was like that, but it was also like a self-critiquing to the point where you hardened up, so it was like also a process that I got to learn as I got older. That it was
resilience
actually,
process, I suppose.
It was like unpeel that. I've been slacking off there. And, you know, sometimes I'd be like devoed at myself, but then it would like put me on this track of like, right, I'm
focus.
5 a.m. I'm waking up, I'm stretching, you know, I'm eating right. And so it'd be like really getting quite in the zone. And I remember doing that there in that event with my dad, and you know, having those chats, and we ended up winning that one for the first world event. So it's pretty,
how did you feel winning that one?
Yeah, it's pretty.
This is the Worlds, right? This isn't just a competition. This is you're at the Worlds in Brazil.
Yeah,
your first Worlds, and you come out on top.
It was pretty special.
Have been phenomenal, mate.
Super special moment.
Was it?
Yeah. I think just coming in and you're so young, you know, it's so small, but it means everything, you know. Like it just
it's
when you
the world, isn't it?
Yeah. And that's what I love about watching the grommets now come up, is like I always remember back of how much it just meant everything to me back then.
Yeah.
It was a super special moment for sure. First real taste at like, maybe I'll be doing more than what I already dream of, you know.
And how did your life change after that moment? Did you get back from Brazil, and did things change?
I was still scrubbing the dishes at home.
Oh, yeah. So your mum still kept you grounded.
Yeah, that's it, man.
Come on, you still got the chores to do, son.
That's it.
Because you're a surfing champion now.
I was the pooper scooper, mate.
Yeah.
The dog poos off the lawn.
Yeah, listen, I've been there, mate. Yeah. Oh, yeah. Cool. So they kept you grounded, and you still had to do your chores.
Oh, yeah. They just wanted to see me do my chores, that's for sure.
Especially after winning the world title.
That's right. Yeah. My younger brother and my two younger sisters and my younger brother, they all followed in the same path, you know, competing professionally and taking that track to, you know, those world events and continuing on.
So what was your next big one after the Worlds? What did you do? Did that just motivate you even more to go out and want to win more titles and want to surf more? And obviously your name's out there now. You know, you're a huge competitor.
There was something my dad always used to say. It was like sharpen your axe to strike once. You know, don't. So he always wanted me to only test my axe on big occasions. So there was lots.
That. Sharpen your axe and only cut once.
That's right. Yeah, and so there was lots of things I could have done that he held me back from because he wanted to reserve my blade, so to speak. Mm-hmm. And so there was so many, like you would sit down and would go, I could do that one, I could do that one. And sure, I could probably go to win that one and win that one and win that one. And it's like, no, you're 16, all right, we're going to do 18s or we're going to do under 21s. And we're going to, and he's like, are you ready for that? And so I'd be like, oh shit, I'm trying to sharpen my blade even more, you know. But yeah, often that was like, we'd really test it out on big occasions, let a lot of the other events go. But we pretty much, it would have been right around then when I was actually still doing some part-time work for my dad as a plumber around that age. And it would have been not long after the Worlds where my sponsors got really serious.
Yeah.
And probably would have been getting paid for the first time now. So then the phone call came to Dad saying, hey, man, this kid works for us, not you.
Oh, really?
And it was like the best day of my life.
Like that.
So
keep your plumbing kit, Dad.
Pretty much threw the shovel at him.
I bet you did. The wheelbarrow. Take that.
Take it. Not going back on these job sites again, mate.
Yeah. What did he think of that? Was he proud?
I think so. You know, he always said to me, he's like, we stayed in school for a while. We weren't there a lot, but the one thing was that I had to have a full-time job. Yeah. And so my way of, you know, saying to him is like that I had to do 8 hours of work a day, no matter what, whether it was, and so when they said they kicked me off his job site, it was like, you have to be doing 8 hours a day. I don't care if they're like paying you or not. You got to show to me your book of 8 hours a day.
So really? So he kept you working?
So he kept me working. So I had a journal and a diary from young purely because I was logging my hours.
Wow.
to show that I was actually working for something. So.
And were you?
Yeah, it was. Well, I mean,
or
easy work.
Were you just like that, writing the hours down? Like,
surfed again today, 8 times, 1 hour each. No, I tried to be honest as I could there, but it made me look into a lot of things: health, fitness, types of fitness, different books, different mentors. That even just like catching up with someone who's done something and having a meeting with them, just hearing about their life and things like that. At a young age, he would always help me do that and catch up with people, and even just talking and learning that way. So
your father was a huge, and probably still is, part of your life.
Yeah,
huge.
Yeah,
sounds
massive.
like because every other word is your dad, and I see your eyes glowing up, and you've got a big smile on your face, which is super cool.
Yeah.
Things are starting to get super serious in the surfing world. Then you head to Hawaii.
It's the best spot. It's where you prove yourself. If you make it in Hawaii, or you do seasons in Hawaii and you get noticed, it's like, all right, this person's going to be around for a long time. It's the spot where you test your mettle, so to speak, like what you're made of. Some kids come up and they're amazing, but they get to the Hawaii season and you don't hear of them. So it was definitely the place where that's where it all goes down. That's where the world title was decided, the Triple Crown. It's like,
wow,
surfing's like ultimate.
And you head there in 2015. Why do you head there?
So I'm heading there for the world title in 2015. Yeah, I'm like 1 in 5 that has a chance coming into that last event. So yeah, like the pressure was on, but I was in a really good space, man. Like as fit, as like strong. I reckon, like just my free surfs and my, thinking back, my free surfs were on point. Like I would be coming in, I'm like, I just got 5 to 10 waves, which is a lot for Hawaii because of the crowds, hundreds of people in the lineup. I'll be getting like 5 to 10 waves, and all making them all, and, not missing a beat, so to speak. So I was feeling pretty good, man.
So you've warmed up at this stage.
Yeah.
Yeah, you feel super good. Yeah, you feel super confident. Like you said, you've taken 5, 10 waves, whatever it is.
Yeah.
And then the competition starts, does it?
So I have how happens is like you have all these days leading into the event, right? Because you're there for days. So the swell's not good every day, but say there's a swell come up 2 days. Out of those 2 days, I perform amazing, and then we're coming into the day of the event. The swell's up. I head out for a practice surf in the morning. Just kind of ace my first ride. It's just amazing. They're just practice waves. Things building on that headspace, that confidence, that invincibility space. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah. And then essentially from that you can get oversights, because you're feeling so confident. Yeah. So that was like the morning of the first day of the comp. And after I was out there for a practice session, man, I took a wipe.
Then what happens? Talk me through that moment where you took that wipe out and how bad it was.
Well, that's the headspace that got me in trouble, man. Like, is that invincibility? I felt invincible, and this ocean saw me completely, and it just pinpointed me and swatted me down, man.
Wow.
I overlooked a scenario that was really dangerous, and instead of chucking my board and diving deep, I let like the size of a 2-story plus built like wave just land straight on me, just detonate straight on me, explode me.
So what were you meant to do? So the wave comes up and you duck dive.
You're supposed to bail in those situations, right? So you think
so it's too late to get out of the way. You
can't get around the wave, so you're supposed to dive to the bottom. So you get down meters to get out of the way, and you can kind of, it's a bit safer down there. I decided to duck dive, which I'm then going like 2 foot under the water, if that, a foot. I'm on a big board. I come in just pushing it down. I'm only about this far under, and then I have like 2 stories of water just freaking
So you didn't go deep enough, ultimately.
I didn't go deep enough.
And were you just thinking, I've done this before?
Done this before, I'll be right. And just lack of
judgment.
Lack of judgment.
Complacency?
And fully complacent, man. Just overlooked it. I know. And the thing just detonated me, shook the life out of me. I had what they call I had a TBI and a severe concussion, but the type of concussion I had wasn't from like blunt force trauma. It was from like what the doctor in hospital said, like a blast victim. My head looked like a blast victim from their war vets that they see. I got what they call shaken baby syndrome essentially, and it just like shook my head so hard that it had all these bruises and contusions on each side of my brain where it just bounced off each side.
And this was the washing machine-like effect under
the washing machine,
the wave.
Yeah, under the wave. And I was just completely ragdolled. Just basically shook the living daylights out of me.
One wave?
One wave, yeah.
When do you realise you're in trouble? Or does it happen so quick? Or when do you think, I've effed up here?
There's a moment in time where I can't, it was just fully black.
Yeah.
Then there's a period of time where I remember being conscious, but like not able to move or anything, and like just I was still way out the back. It was just I had probably 10 of those waves land one after another on top of me.
It was
it was a consecutive. It was like 1 and then 2 and then 3 and then 4 and 5. It was like a multiple wave set, just like, and because the way the lineup works, I was deep, I was out and deep, and the water comes down the reef and pushes you in. So each wave that hit me, I was still in the line of fire because I was just not in, I was just slightly down the reef further where the wave was still like landing and dumping. So I got each wave the whole way down, and then just like...
So you got churned and munched up and
I was minced, man.
In the washing machine of 10 waves.
Yeah.
One after the other.
One after the other. I remember just holding on just in my mind, just going, just just like trying to stay conscious.
Do you think you were going to die?
At that stage, yeah. I was.
So there's a point where you're just like, I'm done. I'm dead.
Yeah. I was. Everyone that came in, I'm done. I don't know. I'm like, it just felt like I was done already.
So are you just helpless?
I had nothing in the tank, nothing left, and I knew I had nothing left in the tank. And my buddy seen me when I was like that, and he looked in and he goes, he just was lifeless, and I'm completely pale and looked like I'd seen a ghost, and just there's nothing in me. He was like, why isn't he moving? Everyone was like, why am I moving? I just couldn't move. Yeah,
you're probably going in and out of consciousness, and
I think I was just each one was just kind of like in and out, and then I got to the beach and somehow made it to the beach, man. Got washed up on the beach, and
So these waves just spat you out on the beach, and
so it pushes you into a point, and then you then this current kind of takes through on the inside, and it kind of takes you up on, like, it just kind of washes you up on the beach. But by that stage, it's brutal. A lot smaller. Yeah. It was a real hiding.
So you get washed up on the beach. Are you crawling? Are you walking? What? How do you know that you're on the beach?
I'm like gassed and like on all fours to begin with, and then I'm just kind of fixated on getting back to the house. Like don't want to be looking that bad in front of like the whole. There's probably thousands of people on the beach by this stage, watching.
And they've witnessed this.
Yeah, they were getting ready. The main event's getting ready to start, so it's a big so there's cameras everywhere, and I'm just kind of like, all right, get up, and I'm just like, okay, and I just trudged back to.
Did anyone catch it on camera?
There would have. I mean, all my buddies seen it. I don't know specifically because there's so much going on. Yeah. Whether or not they filmed me specifically going through. But yeah, when I got back to. Everyone kind of seen me when I was walking up the beach, and they're like, oh, it doesn't look well. And I was kind of like wobbly on my feet and whatnot. And there's a few photos from that. But yeah, it was basically just like the adrenaline response just kept me going until I got back to the house.
Then what happened?
And I just dropped, Just dropped.
Oh, you did?
Yeah, I
dropped. The adrenaline does keep you going, doesn't it?
It wore off, and I remember it got even scarier because I didn't know what was going on. I couldn't taste anything. I was losing like sensations and couldn't move my body. So I was like, I don't know what's going on. So I was like called out to my buddy, but I was slurring all my words. I was like, something's going wrong. And then they were panicking because I was like, it's just...
Yeah, just not you.
Not me, man. Yeah. I was like, couldn't move my body and my hands and they were just going, oh, shit. And so they were freaking out. And then by the time the doctor got around there, man, I was just like, just out. Yeah. Yeah.
Wow. And then what do you do? Do you wake up in hospital? Do you make your way to hospital?
Woke up in hospital.
You woke up in hospital?
Well, like I was out, back in hospital, in and out, and I just got a new scan, and they're like, "Oh, you've had a TBI. You need to go to."
What did that mean?
So there was like a bleed on my brain, and so from the swelling. So then I had to go to another hospital, and
so you got out, you got washed ashore, and you just went straight home. You didn't think about going to the doctors or going to hospital straight away. You were just, did pride sort of take charge and adrenaline? Was it one of those where I'm okay, get off the beach quick, because I don't want people to see me like this? And obviously you got home and
yeah, and I didn't have a big,
maybe,
and I didn't even have a big hole in my head,
Yeah.
So I couldn't see it. Nobody could see it. And so I was like, I don't know, I was like, I've just been wiped out. I just kept saying it was really repetitive and slurring my words to people in the house. It's like, oh, I got really wiped out, man. Like,
yeah.
I got flogged. And I kept saying it, but I was slurring, and people were like, oh, go sit down, man, go sit down. But yeah, just no real knowledge of concussions. So I just... Yeah.
And when did you know things were serious? Obviously you wake up in hospital. When do you know actually, wow, I'm lucky to be here?
I didn't know it was serious. I didn't know it was serious until the doctor was like, like that. They were telling me severe concussion. I was like, oh yeah, whatever.
Yeah, you hear the word concussion, you just you brush it off, don't you?
Whatever.
Yeah.
Oh, you got a bleed in your brain. Oh, all right. And then they're like, oh, you ever been? And someone said, oh, and I was like, oh, when can I surf again? That's my question, right? Because I've got the world title coming up in a few days, right? When can I surf again? Oh man, we don't know if you're going to be right again. It was just like, what? Like, what do you mean? They're like, we haven't, like, we're looking at your scan. It's 5 to 10 years. We don't know. Like, yeah. You're in a bad way.
You're not surfing in a couple of days. So that is not happening.
Yeah. And I'm like, just kind of dealing with like the not a couple days process, as well as like, you might not be surfing again, mate. Like, and I was like, oh shit. Like,
what goes through your head at that stage when they tell you that you might not ever surf again?
I didn't like them.
Yeah, I can imagine. I can imagine.
And I think a bit of that conquering like your fear and conquering energy come about me. I just wanted to get out of that hospital. I was just like, get me the fuck out of here.
Were you in denial?
I was in denial. I think I went into denial of like, this is not happening to me, and this is not it. And I just wanted to get out of that hospital. I remember that really clearly, and everyone around me was just like trying to calm me down and this and that, and I think I started to like lose it at the fact that it was like, well, and then I couldn't walk. And that was another one. And I was struggling.
Wow, so it got. Yeah. Did you deteriorate? Did it get worse and worse and worse? Did you?
Well, once I went out, coming back from that was like I couldn't walk. I couldn't see the left side of the room. I was slurring my words. I had speech problems.
Oh, wow. So you were,
So it's really bad. But in my brain, like I was normal. But what was making me not normal was that I couldn't walk, and that's how I was dealing with this like. Why the hell can't I like do these things that I just want to do?
And does it gradually get worse over the months, or?
Well, I didn't get worse. I got better, but the frustration got worse because I couldn't. I was in a bit of a delusion, right? Like I felt like I could compete for a world title. I felt like everyone was saying,
that's insane.
Like everybody was like, you can't you're not going to surf this year, and the WSL will be like, they'll try and talk to me, and I'll be saying, no, don't cancel all my events because I'm going to be back at like maybe 3 events in or something, you know. Just thinking that
you're struggling to walk at this stage.
I'm struggling to walk, but I don't
to string a sentence together.
I don't feel like I'm struggling. I feel like I can go and surf and do what everyone else is doing, you know. But then like the reality, I was really struggling to hold the reality of like, if I get up, then there's a good chance I'm gonna fall over.
And you knew that?
I knew that. I was struggling to know that.
So there was a huge denial there, right?
Big disconnect between.
Wow.
Yeah,
huge disconnect. So in your head, you can still get up and compete. For the and then ultimately the other side, your body's like, nah.
I couldn't surf. There's no way I could surf.
So when did reality kick in? When did it go? When did it go, right, actually, I need to now focus on recovery. I need to now focus on myself, put surfing to one side. I need to focus on me. Yeah,
that process kept unfolding. I think that was like when I knew better, I did better. My brain was like, that had that disconnect, and each connection that it made was like, I get it now. Like,
right, so it was slowly connecting. The brain was
slowly connecting back together, man. And it's about 4 months in, and I just made this, just giant connection, but I lost a bit of memory with that, and I was like freaking out. Where's this memory gone? Where's this last 3 months gone? 3 or 4 months. I can't really piece this together. I call up the neurologist and like, no, that's post-traumatic amnesia. And I was like, what do you mean? He's like, your brain was in so much trauma. It's not laying down everything you've done in the correct files and in like filing cabinets. Gave me this explanation, and I was like, I'm like, am I ever going to get this back? And he's like, well, the further you get away, you get it back. But that's when it kind of dawned on me that
the further you get away from the trauma,
the further I got away from the trauma, the more I realized, oh man, I was in a really, really bad way. But if you spoke to me in that early bit, I would have told you I'm fine. Mm-hmm. I'll be on tour. Like, I don't know what's going on. I'm just a bit tired or something. Like, just make up some.
So reality hits, and after 4 months, you say?
Yeah.
And you start to align.
Reality hits, and I think if you talk to close family and friends, like maybe they'll say reality didn't hit. I
of course it didn't.
Because I was so fixated, man, on getting my life back. And I think that was ingrained from young. Maybe you could look at that and go, oh, well, like, he put himself back in danger. But I was so focused on, like, I don't want to be the opposite from what the reality of what I was. I wanted to be back to the top again. And so I put myself through things and my head through things that were too hard. And, my family were really scared and everybody else is really scared. But I was more scared of what the injury was than the life I had to get back.
How did your dad cope with it and your family?
Well, my family, Cheese mum, she was just shot. The nerves are shot. Family, sister, and that, they were pretty like, it's hard for them to see me just go straight back into the thing that I was clearly just being taken out by. My dad was all about it. He just was like, yep, come live with me. I'll take you to every appointment. I'll drive you to the surf. He got me back in the surf.
How long after?
Probably 5 months after.
5 months after. So you go from thinking that you'll be good to go in a couple of days, a 4-month process where you can't really remember much, the reality kicking in on actually now I need to just, that was bad. I'm lucky to be alive. Yeah. I'm here. You've got a neurologist and people that are working on reconnecting. Yeah, your headspace really with reality, right? Yeah. Was that an interesting process?
It was because my neurologist was quite similar to my dad in that aspect. He was like, you need to get back to the ocean.
Oh, right. So he's saying to you, need, and what was your thought process? I need to get back, or were you scared?
Well, I was like, oh, what? Like, really? And he was like, yeah, man, he goes, however many steps backwards you take, you need to get back into that ocean. It was like I was still dealing with the piecing it all together that I hadn't thought.
Your headspace is completely somewhere else.
Yeah, and these guys, my dad and the neurologist, are kind of like no, this is where you go. Because I could have sat there for months trying to figure out what was going on, and I wasn't ever going to figure it out. I still to this day is like, what was that? Like, so they just were like, there's your direction, off you go. And so back in the water I went.
So when did you make that conscious decision to go back in the water? Did that scare you?
It did. Well, it did a bit. I'll be honest, it scared me a bit, but my dad drove me to the beach, paddled out next to me, and I ducked over my first wave, and I had this God almighty vice in my chest, man. Just felt like this, like knife, just
really
twisted, anxiety, no breath, just from being under the water again. And
wow, someone that's so driven and so committed that wanted to surf, get back straight in the surf after that accident, and then all of a sudden, your anxiety, panic attack
just kicked in straight up. First time under
in that moment,
and I was just like, whoa, I've got a trek to go. That was probably something I never really connected with that great. I was like still gun ho, just trying to move forwards, but I'd have these like panic attacks, but obviously just trauma in there somewhere.
And would it happen multiple times, or is it just the once?
It happened the once, come up, and just kind of was like, I just didn't know what to think of it. And it's pain in reality. It was just pain. So I was just like, all right.
What did it feel like coming out the other end of it when you relief? Was it like muscle memory, or?
I reckon that knot stuck around for a while.
Oh, did it?
Yeah.
Yeah, it literally extended your neck and tied your head in a knot.
Yeah. And it released and it relaxed, but it stayed there. It stayed there. It stayed there for a long time. Like
long time being months, weeks, years.
I mean, every time I went back to pipe, it was there for months.
Wow.
On end, like a month leading in and out. Sometimes this vice 24/7, no relief from it.
So how did that feel? So your treatment was exposure.
Mm-hmm. Exposure, right? That was it.
Exposure and repetition.
Yeah, just routine, do it again, routine, do it again.
Exposure, repetition.
Yeah, just keep peeling it off. I had the 2016 season off, and I started first thing in the 2017 season. So 12 months after, I was like still barely surfing, like can only surf one free surf every couple of days, dealing with it. And like I'm in the world tour, like we're the top 32 are. And like I'm like not equipped. Like my neurologist's like, we don't care. You're here. It's exposure. We're going to go in. You're going to peel the Band-Aid off. You're going to do a heat. You might have some severe symptoms. We're going to pull you out, rest you. And I went in and I won my first world tour event back. And just like...
What, you won the world tour?
I won the world tour, won the very first event back. So I was number one in the world after the first event.
Wow, mate, that is phenomenal.
And you know what? This is even funnier. My dad said to me when he come and got me, took me for a surf. He's driving to me surf. He said, "You're going to be a champion again. You're going to win your first event back." And he just kept saying it to me over and over.
Talk about facing your fears head on.
Yeah,
you know, something that's been drilled into you from a young age. But going back and being completely honest, how hard was it? You know, to do that? And because I'm the same, you know, very much like yourself from a young age, always face my fears. And sometimes you do want to take that step back. Sometimes you just want to go, I don't want to do it.
And we can sit here and say like all these things of like, we just kept pushing forwards, but not most of the time I was like, there's no fucking way I can do this. Yeah. I'm done. Like I'm beat. I'm done. Like this is and I just had good support network. Hey, and I'll have to like really credit that. It was like, you don't know how to do much, Owen. There's not much you can do, but there's one thing you can do, and that's put a rash shirt on and paddle out in that ocean. My coach, Glenn Hall at Micro Surf Academy, man, his coaching advice for that event was stay on your board. That was it.
That was it.
That was it. He's just take off and stay on your board. I could surf, but if you put too much in that head of mine, it was just so overloading. And that was his coaching advice, man. And he would just say that before every heat, just stay on your board.
Wow.
When you get up, just think about staying on your feet. And just that little bit of like one page. We were a few events in later on, and I was breaking down in the locker room. Like, it was too much. My brain had been exposed. Like you say, that exposure. I'd have been, at this stage, I was supposed to come out and rest for an event, but we kept deciding to keep exposing until I reached this point, right? So I was always flirting with this edge of like, I don't even know what's going on. At this stage, they'd be like, where are you? I wouldn't even be able to tell you where I was. I was so out of it. I was breaking down emotionally. I couldn't, like, I was barely functioning. And my coach sits me down, and the neurologist is there, and they're like, we think he's got more to gain from keeping this rash shirt on and paddling out in this next heat than we do from the emotional damage that he'll take on from taking a backward step. And so we went back out, and I surfed the best I'd surfed since the whole recovery was the best I'd surfed, and it was like at my most weakest moment. And just through those right little key things of like, you don't know how to do anything else, but you can stand on your feet on a surfboard, can't you? And I was like, yeah, I can do that, out of like this blubbery mess. How was it really? It was freaking really hard, man. Like, I was on the edge a lot. They were just all about me regaining my life. And they were able to dissect those moments and just simplify them and offer those little inserts that were like, well, yeah, like, I can stay on my feet.
Yeah.
Like,
pure unconditional dedication and commitment to you.
Yeah.
You. Not what you can do, not what you've achieved, but you.
Yeah.
And you've got so much to give back now, from your experience and from what you've been through and the trauma that you've been through and coming, doing a full 360 with more knowledge. You've got so much to give back. I hear that you're quite vocal now about concussion and the seriousness of it. And how does that feel, knowing that you've got all this experience and surfing knowledge and life experience to give back? What are you doing with it?
Yeah, I love to do a few talks to kids and up and comers through Surfing Australia, and funnily enough, I talk to a lot of AFL players. It's just kind of rife in sport, and I've lived it, breathed it, every head knock that I've had throughout my career. Come back into it, been knocked out more times, dealt with it, pushed on. And just passing on that knowledge, and being told to retire because of it. So I've come back, I've faced my fears, I've gone through it, took more knocks, faced them again, and lived the life I wanted to live. And then now and also been told, hey, now I've been tapped on the shoulder, hey, it's time to stop now, So I feel like there's a lot to gain from that experience, and find myself giving back in many ways of like kids that are getting, small concussions, and they reaching out to me and say, hey, what do you think? They're saying, rest for 3 weeks. I'm saying rest. Rest for 3 weeks. Follow it, and you'll come back quicker, faster, better.
Of course, you're stronger.
Stronger.
Mate, it's brilliant. Brilliant to have you on. What's next for you, Owen? What's next?
What's next?
Come on.
Mate, I'm actually currently just in that gratitude phase of my life where I'm just really happy with just processing the career I just had, just finishing. My dad's unwell with dementia, so a lot of gratitude and time that I'm putting towards him at the moment. And
give him back, mate.
Give him back. Yeah. I'm not conquering anything again at the moment. I haven't found my next mountain, so to speak. But yeah, I'm in that, just down energy, but a lot of gratitude and giving back to the people that supported me. So Yeah.
Good man. Well, listen, you're certainly giving back with this podcast. It's been an awesome chat, mate. Thanks ever so much for sharing your story. Absolute legend. It's been a pleasure, mate. One footstep at a time.
Just
one
foot.
wave at a time.
That's it, man. Stay on your feet.
Stay on your feet. That's it. Stay on your feet. Owen, you're a gentleman. Thank you, mate.
Thanks for having us.
My guest today was Owen Wright. Read more about his story in his book, Against the Water. I'll link the details in the show notes. Thanks so much for joining me on Head Game. If you enjoyed this episode, make sure you're subscribed so you don't miss any of our incredible stories. And leave me a review wherever you're listening. I'm Middleton. Catch you again next time.